Joey. I'm so glad you're here. A few days ago, I was the guest on the live stream, the Wednesday night live stream on the SoftFlex company's channel. I was working with Sarah Ayler, and in my project on the live stream, I did this really simple technique and then showed as many possible ways as I could think of on how to use the technique to make different designs. So one of the things that I had shown in the video, we actually did not get to make the project, and so I was going to do a quick video today and share that with you. If you missed the live stream, I'll put it in the link underneath this video. But what I did is made these simple circle components and then connected them in all different ways. So this is one that I upped my game to make it a little bit more high-end and did it with microfaceted gemstones, lapis lazuli. And then I also reproduced the little component that I connected the rings with in the bracelet and did a little pair of earrings to go with it. But I also did this really organic, really artisan bracelet with the same creating ring techniques with faceted rondelles and some beads from Allegory Gallery and some natural pearls, a meteorite bead, a pave magnetic clasp, and just totally changed up the look of the project that we were doing, you know, by the design, by the way that I used the component in the design. And then this was the one that we featured just using seed beads, using 8/0 seed beads and, you know, a few little metal things and some SoftFlex wire and SoftFlex bead stringing material and another, like, really, I'm going to look like a gypsy, but another, you know, just really stunning project with a very simple technique. So I thought that I would finish this up because we did not have too much jewelry on. It's distracting. I thought I would do the technique that we did not get to, more ideas with what to do with those rings. So I had created this little earring by interlocking some of the rings, and to make this festive and really neutral, I did it with 3 different metallic 8/0 seed beads. You could also use 11/0 seed beads, which I really like, but I didn't have the 3 metallics that I needed in the 11/0. The reason I like the 11/0 seed beads for this project, if you can see, I've also done that with my rings. The number 2 crimp tube and the magical crimping plier make your crimp blend right in with 11/0 seed beads. You can barely find it. So it makes your ring really seamless. But on this one, you know, it just becomes part of the design. It's pretty easy. So I've already done my 2 little silver rings, and I just wanted to show you something else. Like, you could make these rings. This one is a gemstone loop, and I have a video for this pair of earrings too, and I will also link that below. There was this pair and 4 other pairs in that video. It's really fun. But you can also make these rings and fill up another ring. Or another idea that I had was just to keep a simple pair of hoops. They can be gold, silver, copper, and then if you're traveling, for instance, you can wear your plain hoops during the day for walking around, and at night, if you need to glam up a little bit, you could put some gold or copper or colorful seed bead rings right onto your existing hoops and change your look, and then you're not bringing a lot of jewelry. So there's so many fun ways to use this little simple design. But one of the things that I didn't get to share with everybody is my specialty of making my own ear wires and making them all in one. You can totally do this with a head pin, but I actually did this with my 18 gauge SoftFlex wire. And I would say that this could be for a beginner because this is very organic. There isn't a right or wrong. But I think I would more consider this an intermediate project. But if you're, love the design idea, but you don't want to attempt the wire part of this, you could always just add a regular ear wire. But we're going to make this really fast. I have a little piece of 18 gauge wire, and as I said, I've already done the 2 rings, and I did those ahead, and they're going to get connected to my other rings. So what I did is a gold ring I've already strung on 22 seed beads, but I am just using scraps of my antique brass color, my SoftFlex metallics, and these seed beads are just 3 seed beads from my stash in the metallics, because then you can interchange them. And my only advice about the seed beads for the bracelets is any seed bead that's going to be touching your skin, that will get a lot of rubbing or touching, it's really good to invest in the Duracoat galvanized metallic seed beads. Not necessary for not necessary for like a colored seed bead, but it just makes your work last a really long time. Okay, I'm just going to feed my number 2 crimp tube on one end, but before I close this ring, I want to make sure that I add in my 2 silver rings. And the cool thing about the rings is you really can decide how many you want to do. You could do this really long. You can decide which ones you want facing forward, because you're alternating from a facing forward ring to a perpendicular ring to a facing forward ring. So you could really keep going with the design. You could stop with just one level like I did on these and just let the little rings hang out. But I am going to connect these guys. So I'm now going to make a circle. So I'll just pull my little crimp tube up here and feed my opposite wire, the one that's not on the crimp tube, through the tube in the opposite direction. So I have an end of wire coming out of each end, and then I'm just going to pull. And I would pull pretty tight. I've been pulling pretty tight, and you know, it won't stay that way. When you fit your magical crimping plier in, it needs a little space, so it does kind of separate the seed beads a tiny bit, but it has, as long as I started with it pulled tight, all my rings have been pretty consistent. Just gonna close and then go in the opposite direction and close again. Didn't quite fit it. It has to be fitted right in the middle of this plier. And now I'm just going to open and close and just go around a few times, just moving my ring around. And when you take it away, you have a little gold bead. So it kind of disappears right in the design. And I want to get my cutters as close to the crimp as I can so that I get a super close cut. Like I said, the 11-0 seed beads are a better size match to a crimped number 2, but I like this. I didn't mind it, especially since I was intertwining the rings, and as you can see, it really just disappears once you have it made. So I have a bronze ring done as well, and on the bronze ring I have 24 number 8 seed beads. These on the silver rings I did 22, so I just sort of came up with 3 different sizes of rings, and really, like I said, you could do any size you want. If you like giant hoop earrings, you know, you could make these bigger. If you want to make them more petite, you could go down to smaller seed beads and do the same design and make a more petite earring, you know, like I did with these little micro faceted crystals. You can see it's actually a much smaller ring when, you know, it changes the look a little bit when you go down in size. So it is so fun to play with this technique. So all I'm going to do now is do that same thing, is feed my copper through my silver seed beads, so everything is connected. I did not have a number 2 crimp tube in copper, so I opted to go ahead and do the silver, but you can match your crimp tubes to your metallics for this design and really you know, just make it disappear. So the other thing is I keep a little scrap bag, a little plastic bag literally clipped to the front of my work cart behind me, and I toss my scraps of my SoftFlex in that bag, and that is what I use to make these rings. So I'm scooting all these beads down to this end, so I have enough wire here to do another ring. And so this is a great way to use up your SoftFlex scraps. It's just a, you know, not cutting off your spool. It's just a really a great way to not waste any material. So I'm going to repeat the same thing. Okay, now we're going to prepare our little final drop that I did on this earring. So I just took a little faceted metal bead, and I have this little splayed head pin and one of my bronze seed beads, just because I am mixing all the metals, the bronze, the silver, and the gold, so that way I have all of them appearing in my drop. And I want my simple loop to be going front to back so that my splayed head pin is facing forward. So I am just going to get my 2 1/4 millimeter one-step looper in here and gently close it here, make sure everything's lined up. It will make a nice cut for me, make the loop. I'll pull this down out of the jaw of the plier to complete closing. So I've just centered that loop on there, and now this is ready to open and attach to the bottom of the bronze ring. Not the one that's already done, the one that's not done. And I'm going to go on the opposite of where I crimped to attach this. And, you know, hopefully it will kind of be weighty at the bottom and keep the crimped bead kind of hidden inside the other rings. So just have to find the middle. That's really the only trick to this. Is, you know, that's definitely not the middle, but like on the bracelets, let me set this down and show you. On the bracelets, because you're connecting with simple looped components, you have 6 seed beads and then your number 2 crimp tube. Well, reversed, 6 beads and then your number 2 crimp tube, and then 6 beads and a metallic seed bead. And then when you attach your components, you just have to attach in the middle, and that's the same thing that I'm going to do on the earrings. Just find that middle. You can count if you want, but I tend to eyeball it. Okay, and just close it really well. Okay, so really you could be done here if you wanted to just attach this to an ear wire, or like I said, if you wanted to make these as a decoration for existing hoop earrings that you can remove and, you know, have a simple hoop or a really festive hoop, you could do that. But I did do my little head pin here, and I'm going to show you how I did that. So on this one I used 18 gauge wire, and guys, I did this about a month ago when I was scheduled to do the SoftFlex live. So I'm going to do my best to copy what I did here, but for me, I find it's always best when you're doing earrings to do them both at the same time. It's amazing to me how quickly you totally forget what you did, but I'll do my best. And that is why I say this really could be a beginner project, because it's very organic and very one of a kind and artisan. So nobody really knows what, you know, you would like it to look like. So just do your best. So I'm going to start by getting a little loop here with my round nose pliers, and let me see how many turns I did. It looks like I did three little circles around. And I was going to say too, I did these with 18 gauge wire just because I wanted a little bit thicker ear wire, but you could definitely do 20 gauge. In fact, most of the time that's what I do. So I'm just making a little spiral, pretty common wire technique. Keep looking at what I did here. It's already bigger than what I did. Like I said, I do better. I don't do production work, so I do a lot better if I make both of mine at the same time. And then what I'm going to do is get this wire that I was wrapping, I'm going to get it in the middle behind the spiral that I just created and flatten it. So just take your time on this part, and basically, this is going to be the center, the focal on that earring. So I just take my time and just really maneuver it, and don't go to the next step until I'm happy with it. So I'm just going to zhuzh this, tighten it up, and just try to match it to my other one as best I can. That looks pretty good. So if you can see, my wire that I'm wrapping with is in the middle of the spiral or the rosette in the back. And don't skip the step of warming your wire with your fingers, because it really does perform better. And then I used a check glass disc, and I used a metal wavy disc spacer and just stacked them. And I put my rosette right through the two of them. And I am going to give this a bend so that it lays flat. I'm going to take my beads off. I don't want to break my beads, just to get it exactly the way that I want it. So essentially, we've just made a little rosette head pin. That's essentially what we did. And I was going to show you too, if you don't have this exact disc, you can use like a check glass wavy disc spacer. These came from this set here. These two I just picked out, two that matched in color. You could also do this with a larger metal disc spacer. I've even done it with just this ear wire, but I didn't feel like just doing my own wire would be substantial enough for such a chunky and long dangle of an earring. I'm just going to come back to my little stack, and I'm pretty happy with that. That looks really good. Looks like a little flower. And now what you're going to do is just find where the once it's done, they're going to spin around, but I just kind of find the spot that I like as the middle, and I am going to bend my wire up as close as I can to the back of my disc. And I would recommend your nylon jaw pliers here, but let me show you this one. Your beads do need to fit between the wire and the disc. So you want to, before you get it really in place, give yourself just enough room. And I'm going to attach where I crimped. That little number 2 crimp tube is really small, and just wiggle it down in there. So your crimp bead is hiding behind the disc. And then, so as not to damage your check glass bead, you can use your nylon jaw pliers if your fingers are not strong enough. I tend to rely on them because I don't have a lot of strength in my hands. But just take your time. Just take your time. Be careful not to break your disc, and your check glass disc. And it's in there, and it's really firm. It's not coming out. And now I have this amount of wire left to make my ear wire with. So I'm going to do this is my specialty. I love this technique. I did not come up with it. I was given a gift when I was a child from a jeweler. He took a 14 karat gold ball head pin and a freshwater pearl and did earrings for me this way, and they were stolen when my house was burglarized. And I got to thinking that I could totally make those. I'm capable. So if you go on my main page of my channel, there is an earring playlist at the top where it says playlists, and you'll you'll see that I have done all sorts of variations on this technique. It's something that I really love to do. So I'm going to make sure that I have the front of my earring, and I'm going to get my wire just a little bit above my disc, and I'm going to bend it toward me at about a 45-degree angle. So can you see? And then I always reach for this long bail making plier. I lost the word for bail making plier. I have been really sick. My voice is just kind of back today. And I find I'm just like still a little bit off my game. But anyway, I'm going to put this in here again, making sure the earring, you know, everything is facing front the way I want it. And I have it so that I will be wrapping on the smaller barrel. I always link this plier in my list of favorite tools. I love it. I have a 6-step bail making plier too, but I love these two. These are the two most common sizes that I use for jump rings, and I have found that for making my own all-in-one ear wires, that this just fits in my piercing really well, and all the steps are not in my way when I want to do something like this. So now I am just going to wrap this wire over the back barrel, and you can bring it all the way to it's almost touching, because you can make adjustments. When you take it away, you have your little part that rests in your piercing, and on this one I did pull it back a little bit, so you can easily do that. And like I said, I did this one, the sample, almost a month ago. So normally before I would do anything else, I would match these up and cut so that they're both identical. So in this case, I am going to have to eyeball it and just, you know, hope for the best. That's pretty good. And now what I do to avoid measuring and to make sure again that both earrings are exactly the same, I use my flat nose plier, come right to the end where my cut is, if I can get a hold of it, and just kick it out. And like I say, the 18 gauge wire is not what I normally work with, but I just wanted to show you that if you need a more sturdy, a thicker ear wire, I am not hard on my jewelry, so I'm fine with, you know, I'm fine with the other, the 20 gauge I meant to say. And now, just so that this will not harm or scratch your piercing, I like to use my battery operated reamer. I have the little cup attachment on the end, not the reamer attachment. And I just fit that wire in that little cup, press the button, and go around to smooth that out. You can also do that. This is a little set of tools. These are a set of hand reamers and files for jewelry that are really cheap. You can also do it with that. I just find the battery one does a little bit better job. If you have a jewelry buffer, like for buffing paint off the surface of metal like this vintage one, that even works. So you don't have to have a fancy tool. I just love my jewelry tools, and I like to share it with all of you. So that sweet, lovely, festive little pair of earrings is done. I did not need my own ear wire. It was that simple technique of making those rings with your SoftFlex wire and your number 2 crimp tubes. And then, like I said, check out the links for the video. The video link to the SoftFlex Live is on replay now. And I have an earring video where I showed how to do this style using 15-0 seed beads, some microfaceted agate beads, and a leather cord end for this particular style. So if you are intrigued by this design and you want to see more, all those links will be in the description box. I'll put some pictures of these beauties up at the end as always. And guys, don't forget, if you're if you watch my channel and you're not subscribed and you haven't tapped the bell notification, I hope you'll do that. I'm really excited. I have a really special thing that I'm going to be adding to my channel for 2025, and I'm so excited about it. I hope it will be inspiring for all of you so that you don't miss those notifications. Don't forget to subscribe and tap the bell. Thanks, everybody. I hope you're all safe and well and having fun on your beading mats. See you in the next video.